It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when Emma felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She had been staring at her computer screen for what felt like hours, trying to find the motivation to continue working on a project that seemed to have no end in sight. The numbers didn't add up, the deadlines were looming, and the pressure of her job had begun to take a toll on her mental and emotional well-being. She thought about calling it quits and just walking away, but the sense of duty and responsibility kept her tethered to her desk. But what if there was more to this moment? What if the overwhelming sense of frustration and doubt wasn't just a random occurrence? What if it was a sign, a hidden message from something beyond her understanding? Emma had heard stories from friends and colleagues about mysterious moments in life, where things just seemed to fall into place or, at times, take a turn for the better. But she had never paid much attention to such stories before. It always felt like those things happened to other people, not her. However, on this particular day, something felt different. It wasn't just the stress weighing her down, there was a peculiar energy in the air. It felt as though the universe was trying to communicate with her, sending signals she couldn't quite understand. As she looked out of the window, she noticed the clouds parting just for a brief moment, letting the sun shine through. A simple, fleeting moment, but something about it made her pause. Her phone vibrated on the desk, snapping her out of her trance. She picked it up, her thoughts racing. A message from her best friend, Sarah, flashed across the screen. "I know this sounds crazy, but I think I just had a strange experience. Something told me to share this with you." The message didn't end there, though. Sarah attached a photo, a picture of a book, lying open on her kitchen table. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The book, which was something Sarah had recommended months ago, had been sitting untouched on Emma's bookshelf ever since. It was titled The Hidden Messages of the Universe. Emma stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, yet nothing came to her. It was as if the words were trapped behind an invisible wall. And no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get past it. The pressure was mounting, the deadlines were catching up, and every moment felt heavier than the last. She glanced back at her phone, still displaying Sarah's message. Something about it stirred something inside her, a strange sense of urgency mixed with curiosity. She knew the book Sarah had mentioned. It wasn't just any book, it had been a gift, a thoughtful gesture from Sarah months ago. Emma had placed it on her shelf and completely forgotten about it, dismissing it as something she would never have time to read. The Hidden Messages of the Universe. It was a title that had always seemed a bit too abstract for her pragmatic mindset. Emma had never been one for abstract thinking or anything that couldn't be explained logically. She had always found comfort in facts, figures, and tangible results, but there was something in Sarah's tone, something in the way the message was phrased, that made Emma reconsider. She grabbed her phone and typed back a quick reply. "What do you mean by, 'something told me'?" Emma could feel her heart racing slightly. She was unsure of what to make of this strange communication. Was Sarah just having an off day? Or was there more to it? The idea of a message from the universe seemed too far-fetched for Emma. But there was a part of her that couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. Her phone buzzed again. Sarah's reply came through quickly. "I don't know how to explain it. I was just sitting there, reading the book, and I felt like it was speaking to me. The words, the pages, they weren't just random. It felt like I was being guided, as though the universe was sending me a message. And then, I thought of you. I felt like you needed to hear it." Emma blinked, trying to process what she had just read. There was an uncanny sense of familiarity in Sarah's words. It felt like déjà vu, as if Emma herself had once felt something similar but had dismissed it as a fleeting thought. She set the phone down for a moment and turned to the window again, hoping the fresh air would clear her mind. The sun had started to set, casting a warm golden glow over the horizon. But Emma couldn't enjoy the peaceful sight. Instead, her thoughts swirled in circles, each one leading her back to Sarah's message. Could there really be something more to this? She wondered aloud. Unsure whether to laugh at herself or take it seriously. Emma had always considered herself a rational person, someone who believed in science and logic, not in mystical forces or unseen energies. Yet, in this moment, a small part of her began to wonder if perhaps she had been overlooking something all along. The thought lingered in her mind as she walked over to her bookshelf. There, sitting untouched, was the hidden messages of the universe. She hesitated for a moment, her fingers brushing against the spine of the book. She had never thought she would read it, much less find meaning in it. But something was different now. It wasn't just the pressure of work or her overwhelming thoughts. It was the nagging feeling that something important was happening. Something she couldn't quite put into words. Emma pulled the book from the shelf and opened it to the first page. The words seemed to jump off the page, almost as if they were written just for her. The introduction spoke of signs, subtle messages sent by the universe to guide individuals on their paths. It discussed how these signs could come in various forms: a song on the radio at just the right moment, a book that falls open to the page you need to read, or a random conversation with a stranger that leads to a revelation. It was an intriguing concept, one that Emma had never given much thought to. But now, as she read the words on the page, something shifted inside her. The rational part of her brain wanted to scoff at the idea. But a deeper part of her, the part she had ignored for so long, felt an undeniable pull. She continued reading, her mind absorbing each word. The book went on to explain that these signs were not just coincidences, they were the universe's way of communicating. A form of guidance that could help people make decisions, overcome challenges, and find their true purpose. Emma felt a sense of unease wash over her. The concept of purpose had always seemed so distant. Her life had been about climbing the corporate ladder, meeting expectations, and following a clear path. There was no room for anything that didn't fit within the confines of success and logic. Yet, as she read further, Emma's skepticism began to waver. The author described a series of examples, people who had experienced life-changing moments when they followed the signs they had been given. A woman who had met the love of her life after a random encounter in a coffee shop. A man who had found the career of his dreams after receiving an unexpected job offer. A young couple who had moved to a new city after receiving a series of signs that told them it was time to make a change. Each story seemed to echo Emma's own sense of dissatisfaction, a feeling she couldn't quite place. Could these signs, these seemingly random occurrences, be the key to unlocking something greater in her own life? Her heart raced as she continued to read. The more she learned, the more she felt a connection to the stories within the pages. The book didn't just talk about signs, it urged its readers to be open, to listen, to pay attention to the world around them. The universe is always speaking to us, the author wrote, but we must be willing to hear it. Emma felt a flicker of hope within her, a sense that perhaps the universe had been trying to communicate with her all along. She had been so focused on her work, her career, and her responsibilities that she had ignored the possibility that there might be something greater guiding her path. As the evening wore on, Emma found herself lost in the pages of the book. She felt as if she were uncovering something hidden within herself, something she had buried beneath the weight of her job and her daily routine. She closed the book for a moment, her mind racing with thoughts. Could it be true? Could there really be something out there guiding her, waiting for her to notice? The idea seemed both exciting and terrifying at the same time. She glanced back at her phone, which was now buzzing with messages. Sarah had sent her another text. "I don't want to overwhelm you, but I really think you need to start paying attention to the signs in your life. I can't explain it, but something feels big is coming your way. Keep your eyes open." Emma stared at the words for a long time. Something big was coming her way. She couldn't ignore it any longer. The next few days felt like a blur to Emma. She had found herself drawn to the book in a way she hadn't anticipated. Each time she picked it up, it was as though the pages spoke directly to her, offering new insights, new revelations about the world and her place within it. But the more she read, the more she began to question everything she had believed in for so long. Was there really a hidden plan, a greater force that guided her life? Or was she just imagining things? But the signs kept coming. Little things, seemingly insignificant, but enough to make her pause and think. One afternoon, she was walking home from work, deep in thought about a presentation she had to prepare. As she walked, she heard a familiar song playing on the radio of a cafe she passed. The song wasn't particularly meaningful to her, but as the lyrics flowed through her ears, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was somehow connected to what she had been reading in the book. It felt like the universe was speaking to her, sending her a message through the music. She stopped in her tracks, staring at the cafe window as if waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. Still, the moment lingered, a quiet whisper of something more. That evening, Sarah called. She had been following up on their previous conversations, eager to hear how Emma was doing with the book. "Emma, you've got to trust me on this," Sarah said, her voice full of urgency. "The signs are all around you. You just need to open your eyes and recognize them for what they are. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear something is coming your way. You've got to be ready." Emma hesitated. She had been reading the book, yes, but part of her still resisted the idea that there was a grand cosmic design to everything. She was still grounded in the practicality of her daily life, in her job and her responsibilities. The notion that everything had meaning beyond what she could see with her eyes was still a difficult pill to swallow. "I don't know, Sarah," Emma replied, her voice uncertain. "I want to believe you, but I don't know if I can. It's hard to wrap my head around." Sarah's voice softened, almost as if she understood the inner turmoil Emma was feeling. "I get it. I know it's hard to believe, but you've already started seeing the signs. You just need to trust what your heart is telling you. It might not make sense now, but it will. You'll see." Emma sat silently for a moment, the weight of Sarah's words hanging in the air. She looked out the window at the city skyline, her mind swirling with conflicting thoughts. The universe, destiny, signs. Were these just abstract concepts designed to give meaning to the chaos of life? Or was there really something bigger, something beyond her understanding, trying to guide her toward a different path? The following week, Emma began to pay more attention. She wasn't consciously looking for signs, but she was open to them now. It was as if the universe had started speaking to her in a language she didn't fully understand, but one she could feel in her bones. One morning, as she was rushing to a meeting, she found herself walking past a bookstore she had never noticed before. The windows were filled with colorful displays, and one book in particular caught her eye. It was titled The Art of Letting Go. She paused, staring at the cover. The title seemed so simple, yet so profound. She had always been someone who held on tightly, whether to her career, her goals, or even her fears. Letting go had never been easy for her. Without really thinking about it, Emma stepped inside the bookstore. The moment she did, a sense of calm washed over her, as if she had entered a different world entirely. The air smelled of paper and ink, and there was a quiet hum of energy in the room. She walked over to the shelf, her fingers brushing over the spines of the books until she found The Art of Letting Go. As she flipped through the pages, she found herself mesmerized by the wisdom contained within them. The book spoke of surrender, of trusting the flow of life, and of releasing the need to control everything. It was exactly what she needed, even though she hadn't realized it until now. Emma purchased the book, feeling a sense of peace that she hadn't felt in a long time. When she left the bookstore, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was another sign, another piece of the puzzle falling into place. The universe had been trying to tell her something, and now, more than ever, she was ready to listen. The days that followed were filled with small, yet significant, moments of clarity. Emma found herself experiencing bursts of inspiration, unexpected flashes of insight that seemed to come out of nowhere. She was no longer bogged down by the constant pressure of work. Instead, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, a sense that everything was moving in the right direction. Even though she couldn't see the full picture yet, her work seemed to flow more effortlessly. She had been stuck on a difficult project for weeks, but suddenly, the solution came to her. It wasn't a sudden stroke of genius, but rather a quiet realization that everything she had been struggling with had led her to this moment. She trusted her instincts, made a few key adjustments to her presentation, and presented it to her team. The result was a resounding success. Her colleagues were impressed, and the project moved forward with newfound momentum. As she sat back in her office chair later that day, Emma couldn't help but smile. She had always prided herself on her hard work and dedication, but now she realized there was more to her success than just effort. It was the openness to receive, to listen, to trust that the universe had a hand in shaping her journey. One afternoon, Emma received a call from an old acquaintance, Mark, who had been out of touch for years. They had worked together on a project early in her career, and although they hadn't kept in touch, Emma had always admired Mark's innovative approach to business. "Emma, it's been a while." Mark's voice was warm and welcoming. "I'm working on a new project, and I thought of you. I think you'd be the perfect fit for what we're doing. Are you open to exploring a new opportunity?" Emma felt a surge of excitement, but also a wave of uncertainty. This was unexpected. She had been comfortable in her current role, even if it wasn't fulfilling her deepest desires. Could this be another sign? Was this the universe nudging her towards something new? After a few days of deliberation, Emma decided to meet with Mark. The conversation was refreshing, and she found herself intrigued by the potential of the new project. It wasn't just a job offer, it felt like a calling. Something inside her told her this was the next step in her journey, the next phase of her life that had been waiting for her to take the leap. As Emma stood in the cafe after their meeting, she realized that this was it. The universe had been sending her signs all along, and now, it was time for her to take action. She couldn't deny it any longer. The book, the music, the chance encounter with Mark, it was all part of a larger story. A story that was unfolding before her eyes. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt truly alive. The signs were no longer a mystery. She had learned to listen, to trust, and to embrace the unknown. Emma knew that this was only the beginning, and whatever came next, she was ready.